Good morning to our listeners in Asia, and good afternoon to those in Australia and New Zealand. Welcome to the Econsultancy webinar, E-Commerce, Trends, Data, and Best Practice. Questions will be answered at the end of the session, and for any that we don't get to, please email us at apac@econsultancy.com, and we'll try to answer them afterwards. And also note that this webinar is being recorded, so you can watch it later. My name is Jeff Rajak, and I'm a research analyst for Econsultancy in Asia Pacific. My co-hosts today are Ashish Jain, Head of E-Commerce and Digital at Godrej & Boyce, and Kestrel Lee, the Principal Analyst, Greater China for Econsultancy. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Hi, everybody.
Before we start, I'd just like to introduce Econsultancy to those who may not yet be familiar with us. Econsultancy is a research service whose aim is to help marketers and organizations achieve digital excellence. Our main business is subscriptions and online resources, where our customers can find research reports, global and regional surveys of marketers, as well as best practice guides, like the one we are talking about today on e-commerce. We also deliver public and bespoke in-company training on request, provide digital transformation consulting for whole organizations, and hold industry-leading events. For more information and to request to place an event, please visit econsultancy.com/events. Today we are going to talk about e-commerce with two of the captains of the industry in Asia, and we will be referring to some of the trends mentioned in one of our most recent Econsultancy reports, E-Commerce Best Practice Guide. Through this webinar, I will be highlighting a number of recent trends backed up by data, and we'll be leaving it to our subject matter experts to provide insights into these trends, as well as cover some of the best practices for marketers. So let's get started. Okay, so the first trend today is that e-commerce is becoming n-commerce, or mobile commerce. Now, I think it's fairly well known that mobile is taking over as the preferred platform for web browsing. But looking at the most recent data, it seems that this trend is becoming more pronounced for Asia. So this is a chart from StatCounter, a web analytics tool which captures data from 2 million websites globally, and it offers high-level stats about how people are using the web. So here we see that mobile, in green there, overtook desktop, which is the blue line, in market share in Asia in April of 2015. And that this divergence, with mobile increasing over desktop, has been increasing almost unabated since. And so from this graph, we can see that mobile is now about 2/3 of web traffic in Asia. In addition to becoming the most popular platform for web browsing, mobile is also increasingly becoming the platform which consumers use to buy things online. Here is a chart which shows survey data from the beginning of 2017, showing that in most countries in Asia, a high percentage of internet users are making purchases on their mobile devices. We have South Korea there at the top, leading the pack with 55% using mobile to make purchases. And interestingly, India is there at the bottom, but still with 23% of internet users making mobile purchases. Now, lest we think that India, from this stat, is behind the curve, have a look at this data from eMarketer from around about the same time. This would be around 2017. Here we can see that while India may lag in the percentage of people who purchase using mobile, the dollar value of mobile purchases is actually quite a large chunk of the total e-commerce sales. And it's rising, as you see from the blue line there. So in 2016, they estimate that 2/3 of e-commerce sales in India were from mobile. And they estimate that this will rise to 80% of sales in 2020, all while e-commerce is growing at a tremendous rate. So we see there that 2020 e-commerce sales in India will be about 3 times of what they were in 2016. In China, the trend for using mobile for e-commerce is even more evident. In a report by PwC in 2017, Over 90% of the consumer surveyed indicate that they use mobile regularly for e-commerce, as compared to just around half globally. Now, while at the top there we see in the bright red, we see only 7% use it daily, more than half of Chinese shoppers use their mobile for e-commerce on a weekly basis at least. And even more than that, I think it's 3 out of 4 use it on a monthly basis. And when we look at the gross merchandise volume, the GMV, or I guess you call it total volume of dollars in sales, we see that 90% of the $25 billion that was spent on Singles Day in 2017 in China came from mobile. So China is clearly leading the way, and it seems likely, with the rise of mobile web browsing that we saw earlier, that this trend will continue through the rest of Asia Pacific. So why might this be the case? Why is mobile being used more and more for e-commerce? Well, first off, we have data here that shows that mobile is becoming the preferred way for many to access the internet. In a 2016 survey of Asia Pacific internet users, the research firm Internet Society found that for more than half of consumers under the age of 34, they prefer to use their mobile for the internet, and we see that on the left in green. And on the right in blue there, we see that they found that 90% of internet users access the internet via mobile every day. And mobile is also becoming an integrated part of the e-commerce buying process. Logistics providers often, tell their people who bought things from e-commerce sites, they tell them using SMS or WhatsApp to notify the shoppers when parcels are available. And also, we see pictures here of these new remote delivery facilities for e-commerce, which have sprung up all over Asia. On the left there, we have Pop Station in Singapore, we have Hivebox in China, and Smartbox there in India. These remote delivery things are making e-commerce easier in general, and they solve the delivery problem faced by e-commerce firms previously. In that they're able to reach consumers who may not easily be able to have a package delivered to their condo or their flat. But also interesting, and why this is big for mobile, is that these solutions rely on mobile to ensure that the people who are opening the boxes are authorized to receive the packages. So in other words, I guess, mobile has become essential to the whole e-commerce buying process. And finally, from a global survey by Google, we see that 91% of smartphone users, use their devices while doing a given task. And I think this is kind of a change in behavior, whereas before maybe mobile was used as a convenience factor or a way for, to catch a quick email or send a quick text. But I think now what this data indicates is that the smartphone has become the go-to platform for getting things done. And so it's only natural that despite, having a smaller screen and it's harder to type and all that people, are using it to buy things. So Kestrel, it's quite clear from the data that the future of e-commerce is mobile. But can you share any interesting trends from your regions or the regions that you cover about how m-commerce is affecting the customer journey and what else is happening in mobile?
Okay. Actually, to be very honest, I've been conducting a few courses and workshops in Singapore for Southeast Asia and China for the last few years. I've always taken the view that e-commerce is mobile commerce in Asia. There are a few interesting things to support this. First thing is this. Mobile e-commerce sales are around over 200% more than desktop e-commerce for the last 1-2 years. Point one. Two, mobile payment has been growing exponentially, and that is actually driving e-commerce as well. Last but not least, the fact remains that China has about over 700 million internet users. 95.1% are smartphone users, and that's why most of the e-commerce sales, for example, during Singles Day this year, are over 90% on mobile. So it's part of an ecosystem type of development. We are going online more. We are watching. We are having our leisure, shopping, entertainment, video entertainment online more. We are paying online more. We are shopping online more. and that's what's pushing e-commerce in China into mobile commerce. Even in Southeast Asia, I've noticed that the increase in smartphone or internet-ready phone usage has a vastly bigger growth than increase in new desktop users. That's why it has e-commerce in China and Southeast Asia is definitely mobile commerce. Yeah.
Okay, great. Ashish, how about in India? How is mobile affecting the e-commerce customer experience there?
There are two aspects to it. One is the customer side and the other one is the technology side. If you see, mobile is actually very convenient in one way because the commutation hours in urban areas are very long. So people have only one device in their hand, which is mobile. So they are consuming more digital media. They are actually doing more with that. And that's the reason the commerce will also move. Second is related to the convenience which mobile offers. I mean, you can discuss it with your friends when you are actually talking to them. Then you can actually use mobile to purchase anything, which is much more like a impulse purchase for you. Second, from a technology perspective also, now the data speed is much higher. The smartphone sizes are much bigger. The specifications are very good. So earlier, people used to delay their purchase decision because they want to get more information on the images, videos, and all those contents, which they were not able to use, they were not able to see when they were using mobile. Now, all those things are relatively easy. So that both the sides put together will definitely lead actually more towards m-commerce rather than desktop or laptop-based commerce.
Okay, great. Well, I think definitely the message is then the trend for brands, they have to, if they haven't already, is to really get on mobile in India and in China and make sure that they're offering the great mobile experience that the consumers expect. Okay, now we'll move on to trend number 2, and that is that online marketplaces are disrupting retail. The point here is that while e-commerce as a whole is moving retail from stores to the online world, it is the marketplaces which are having the greatest effect. Now, as with many things online, the U.S. is leading this trend in Western nations. So in this chart, we see the changes in the market cap, which is the value of a business over the past 5 years, from 2013 to 2018. On the far left, we have Amazon, which, as we all know, is the main marketplace in the U.S., and to the right are the retail companies which Amazon competes against. Now, there has been some growth among its competitors, and they're the ones in green there. But as is quite evident, Amazon's growth has been far greater than even its most competitive rival, which would be Costco. And on the far right, we can see that other retail providers have been decimated. They've been destroyed by Amazon, and it's so much so that it's now called the Amazon effect. That is, Amazon has been able to capture such a large market share that other retailers have seen large drops in customers and investor confidence in their businesses as well. Additional data from a retail analyst here compares actual sales of items, clothes, electronics, media, and notes that since March 2016, the growth in sales of such items at retail stores has gone down. And we see that in the red line is the trend line there. While Amazon's sales growth in the same items in orange there has risen steadily since March 2013. So again, it looks like Amazon is just eating the lunch of all of these retailers in the U.S. Additional data says that the Amazon effect is not unique to the U.S. In Europe, analysts have tracked the performance of European retail stocks against the stock market in general. And what they have concluded is that investors have dumped the retail stocks in favor of other industries since late 2016. This is evident, and we see sort of a 15% growth in the stock market as a whole there in green, while the retail sector in gray there has not had any price growth at all. So I think we can conclude that the Amazon effect is hitting Europe as well, and marketplaces are taking over from retail. So what about Asia? What effects are the regional marketplaces having here? Well, it's not quite as easy to track things based on share price yet, but we can piece the trend together here with China with some other data. So this first chart here, we see that analysts predict that e-commerce as a whole will enjoy double-digit growth over the next 3 years to 2021 there. So it's already going, the estimates are going out to 2021, and we see double-digit growth each year. Now, additionally, the share of e-commerce sales in China will increase as well, year on year. And the share of e-commerce in China, or of retail sales, will be an astonishing 34% in 2019. Now, just to put that in perspective, the U.S. is still below 10% of e-commerce sales as a percentage of retail sales, and it's not predicted to be more than 12% in 2019. So e-commerce in China will be 3 times as popular than in the U.S. Okay, so now here's the kicker about marketplaces. We've seen that e-commerce is growing in dollar value in China. We see that e-commerce is growing as a percentage of retail sales. Well, now in this chart here, we see that that all the e-commerce sales in China are through marketplaces, not through individual brand sites. You know, we see that Tmall and JD combined make about 80% of e-commerce sales. And so it's the market, as e-commerce grows in dollar value, as e-commerce grows in market share, we see it's the marketplaces in China, like in America, are probably going to get most of the growth. And so, and marketplaces will be the beneficiaries, not the brands directly. And so brands need to have a good marketplace strategy to enjoy the move from real stores, of commerce moving from real stores to e-commerce. And what's happening right now in Asia is that many markets now have a dominant local marketplace. Korea has Coupang, Lazada and Zalora are big in Southeast Asia. They're in Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam. In India, we have Flipkart and Snapdeal, in Japan, Rakuten. And in Australia, just since December of 2017, it's now Amazon. So what sorts of strategies are brands adopting to this move from retail stores to marketplaces? Well, many are signing up to be vendors. The marketplaces make it quite easy for even boutique brands to start selling through them, though many are giving up a lot of margin to do so. Also, expectations from marketplaces are very high on brands for fulfillment. So many brands are now having to have dedicated resources for ensuring that their marketplace presence is up to date and their logistics are up to the expected quality. Many larger brands, such as Calvin Klein here on Zalora, have a unique storefront, and that's so that the brand can maintain some sort of control of how they look on the site. Other brands, such as Adidas here, seem to have a strategy where the marketplace gets the general merchandise, the more generic merchandise, but the brand keeps some of the more exclusive products on their own e-commerce site. This allows casual consumers to see the brand's products on the marketplace, but it gives true brand fans a place to shop for the more specialty items. Now also, I did want to note that not all brands are playing the marketplace game. Notably, LVMH and Birkenstock, there are those headlines at the top, have both said that they will not be selling on Amazon. However, I gotta say, a very quick search of Amazon turned up these brands' products on the site anyway, through third-party merchants. So even if marketplaces are not part of your brand strategy, you have to realize that your products may end up there anyway. Finally, and this is data from a PwC survey of China consumers, that despite the huge popularity of marketplaces, consumers are still shopping and they're still going to brand websites. Now, some of the reasons for this is that consumers feel that they can get more choice from the site, as we saw with Adidas, perhaps a lower price, perhaps, but most interestingly, nearly half of the consumers there at the top are looking for a better warranty or guarantee, and they feel that they will get this from the branded website over buying from the marketplace. So, conclusion, online marketplaces are taking over retail, but, just keep an eye on single-site brand e-commerce because it may not be quite dead yet. Okay, so Ashish, we saw that India has 2 marketplaces on the rise. What is the future for brands on e-commerce in India? Do they stand a chance of going it alone, or should they just be working on a marketplace strategy?
If you really see, there's an opportunity and risk both for the brands. The opportunity is because most of the people are now going online. They are going to platforms like Flipkart, Amazon. And if brands choose not to be there, then it's a risk. Okay. Now, so as a brand, you need to balance this risk. You cannot leave those marketplaces. But at the same time, if you see the e-commerce history, the more and more the marketplaces are strong, they will try to get more and more margins. There the pressure will be in the profitability for the brand. So brands need to be very careful when they are present on these platforms that they need to safeguard their interest. Second thing is, it is also category dependent, like impulse buying categories where the ticket values are low. These are the platforms which are pushing their products, and a lot of customers actually buy them because the investment in terms of money is really less. But if you think about the categories like jewelry, furniture, where brands need to be present through their own websites also, so that they can clearly communicate the product innovations, the design, and the other things. From the brand perspective, I think they need to focus on product innovation. They need to make sure that they have something different, and customer is coming for that. And then even if they are not present on some marketplaces, people will try to find them. I think it's important for brand.
Okay, so brands should again go back to the basics, focus on innovation, getting product consumers want, and then they can be less worried about whether they're on marketplaces or whether they're getting customers on their own website. Good.
Absolutely.
Okay, Kestrel, so, from the data, this trend is already happening in China. We see massive traffic on marketplaces. Do brands have any chance there of going it alone?
Okay, that's a very good question. I'm going to just give the advice that I've been giving my clients for the last few years, including this year. You have to do a dual approach. You have to invest in e-commerce marketplace for first-time customer acquisitions if your brand is still relatively new to China. You should also slowly build up commerce features on your social platform, as well as your .com website, as your own media, to promote repeat purchase from existing customers as part of a customer after-sales type of CRM movement. That is the ideal approach related to e-commerce if you're trying to launch your brand into China. Why this is necessary is very simple. The crowded marketplace simply have more people. They have more sales. There are more people selling your product than you realize on the marketplace. So even if you're not selling there, someone is selling for you. So regardless that Amazon said no to LVMH said no to Amazon a few years last year or 2 years back, they said yes to Alibaba to have the Tmall store. So the thing is that even though they just launched the China version of the ecommerce.com site for LVMH, so even LVMH realized that in China, you don't have a choice. But the thing is you have to build up your own media for .com, like your .com website and on your social platform, partly because e-commerce media inflation is getting worse because so many people are trying to sell on Alibaba. You have limited paid search, paid banners on Alibaba platform. So your margins will go down eventually. And no matter what, Singles Day and all other e-commerce sales festival on Alibaba is discount driven. So the thing is, you're not a mass brand. There's only that much you can do on a discounting strategy approach. You may do it for a very short period like flash sales on Singles Day, but what about the rest of the year? That's why you need to do culture-driven, brand-driven e-commerce initiative on your own social platform and .com website. Okay, for China. For Singapore has always have a very fragmented e-commerce landscape. Singapore and Malaysia is the hub of Southeast Asia's cross-border e-commerce economy. So a lot of people buy out of Singapore. A lot of people sell from outside Singapore into Singapore. So the marketplace I have to say, for most of the Southeast Asian countries is already driven by e-commerce marketplace. I've seen some charts from Comscore 1-2 years back. Lazada is always in top 5 of most of the Southeast Asian countries. However, for brands with good branding and good product, they still have a chance to just do it alone via .com e-commerce. Because out of the top 5 e-commerce retailers in Southeast Asia, Apple.com is always in one of them. And Apple.com e-commerce strategy is the easiest one to copy. You want to buy my product? Go to Apple.com, make an appointment, pick up the product at the store. That's it. If you're a good brand, good product, Apple.com is the best e-commerce model copy, especially in Southeast Asia. Yeah, that's it from me.
Okay, and so on these branded websites, I mean, do they have to offer the same price that they offer elsewhere? Do they offer the same inventory, or are you seeing brands offering divergent things on marketplaces and their own digital properties?
Okay, I'll just give a very quick answer. The thing is, consumers are already trained to go to e-commerce marketplace to do price comparison because there are various retailers selling the same product. Point 1. Okay. Point 2. The e-commerce third-party retailer outside of China, I'm talking about outside of China, they are fantastic in terms of branded content, like Net-a-Porter, like Real, people who love luxury, or sneakers or shoe wears. We will always go to those sites to look at the brand content because they're very good editor. And more importantly, the range. And the range is what draws us to e-commerce marketplaces overseas. For example, Real has so much content on LV wallet. It also outbeats LVMH on phrases like LV wallets because it outsells LVMH in such wallet category online. So be it through search or through content, we are always drawn to the e-retailer marketplace. Point 1. Point 2, supply and demand. A lot of the time, the .com website, the inventory is not constantly updated. So we don't really have problems finding the size and the model of what we want. But for Real, we can find a lot of range, not just the newest range, but even the range from the last few years. However, one caveat, it is becoming very hard to shop on third-party e-commerce retailers in USA and overseas. Reason because of resellers. Resellers are creating bots, BOTS, to automatically bid for like this sneaker model from this range the moment it appears on Real. And normal consumers like me, we are falling behind. So there is still a room for .com website to actually play a role. For example, let us know what you're looking for from our brand, your wish list for the last 3-5 years. The .com site can fulfill it because ultimately they are from the brand side. And right now, a lot of the brands, they're doing reissues. So this is one area the .com website can fight back against third-party retailers like RealReal. Yeah, that's it for me.
Okay, great. Wow, super. Really, really good information for those who are trying to manage brands between their own .com and the marketplace website. Great, thanks a lot. Okay, now the third trend is that bundled services could become the killer app of e-commerce. That is, we've seen the dramatic effect of e-commerce on retail stores, but that in situations where marketplaces still face local competition, they have another card to play to win the market, and that is additional bundled services for subscribers to the marketplace. Now, the inspiration for this trend came from the announcement of Amazon entering Australia in April of last year. Now, they didn't start until December, but the announcements were made in April. And as we can see from that chart on the right, the stock price of two of Australia's largest retailers, Woolworths and Coles, plunged afterwards, and it caused an almost immediate downturn in their share prices, as you will see there. However, as you can see from the news headlines on the left, the retailers have since devised strategies to deal with Amazon, and now many analysts are saying that the fear of Amazon is overblown. These two big retailers know the market really well, and they will be able to fend off Amazon. Investors have agreed, and share prices have since recovered as of January 2018. And interestingly, we had similar effects in Singapore. The launch of Amazon Prime, there we go, in July there, saw the downturn of two of Singapore's retailers, Dairy Farm and Shen Xiong. But, since that time, we see Dairy Farm has recovered, and Shen Xiong has not, it's not quite recovered, I wouldn't say, but it's certainly not gone down anymore over time. And press, and on the left there, we see the press in Singapore also downplayed this Amazon effect, saying that in Singapore, people still love to go shopping. But the trend that I want to point out here is that, and these reports may not be taken into consideration, is that Amazon is not just a marketplace. Instead, it has a very popular subscription service called Amazon Prime, which offers a wide variety of bundled services for its members. And you see a list of them there. Maybe you can't read it so well, but go to the Amazon website and you can find it. Now, the initial value of Prime, this membership service, is the free shipping that you get for subscribing for a year. And that free shipping can get you 2 days in America. I mean, it's the same day in Singapore, 1 day, I think, in the UK. And I think in this area, many other retailers could possibly compete. But where they are left in the dust is that Amazon can also throw in a lot of other stuff. Prime subscribers in America get 1 million songs that they're able to download just for being a subscriber. Over 20,000 movie and TV shows are available. And books, they get more than 1,000 free books and magazines just for being a Prime subscriber. Free unlimited photo storage. The list goes on and on. Now, should this not be enough to get other people in, Amazon also has a huge portfolio of other businesses that could also offer value-added services in one way or another. And from its recent news announcements, Amazon is adding new businesses every day to make their marketplace and their Prime subscription possibly more attractive. They have their own branded products, they sell tickets, and they now even have air and sea freight. And as one analyst put it, Amazon is not just a marketplace, but it is a machine for making companies. So they seem to create companies out of thin air, and they go and they offer these services through Prime. And this is where I think other retailers may be in trouble. While Amazon can seemingly offer an unlimited amount of valuable bundled services with its membership, how are the other retailers going to reply? They can offer free shipping too, and perhaps compete on price, but then what else? What else can they do? And the data behind this shows that this bundled services effect has had almost an unbelievable response in the U.S. Here we see the growth in Amazon Prime memberships in the U.S., which has more than doubled between 2015 and September 2017. And now, get this, so we have 90 million subscriptions. It's a staggering 2 out of 3 U.S. households has an Amazon Prime membership. There is no room, or very little room, for a second marketplace in that market. So how will this play out in Asia? Well, it's too soon to tell. Amazon has just started in many marketplaces, not huge market share, but Amazon has made it widely known that they are willing to spend what it takes to get footholds in many of the countries here. And so, bad news maybe for brands, or tough news for brands, really maybe bad news for other marketplaces, but consumers can probably expect to get some pretty good deals from being Amazon subscribers as time goes on. Now, in Singapore, we actually have seen a defensive move from Lazada, which is a majority-owned company it's majority-owned by Alibaba. Lazada recently partnered up with a number of other service providers to do their own bundled product called Live Up. And this gives its members reduced prices on Netflix, better cabs on Uber, as well as free shipping from its partners and a rebate for every purchase made through one of the members. And it's a good effort, but time will only tell if it's good enough to beat Amazon in the long run. Okay, so Castro, we've talked about Amazon Prime in the U.S. We also have a similar thing maybe going on here in Singapore. Are you seeing any other marketplaces or e-commerce providers strengthening their relationship with consumers through these sort of bundled services? That if you're a member of the marketplace, you actually get more stuff or something free.
Okay, that's a good question. And to be very honest, the bundled services is still something relatively new in Asia and in China. However, I've noticed that this bundled service offering is happening a lot more often with popular payment gateways. For example, in Singapore, the Live Up, they work with Uber, partly because people are used to using Uber and Grab to actually pay. In Indonesia, the Gojek, companies like Toyota, whatever, they are working closely with the platform, making use of its popular payment gateway. The key thing about bundled services is you still need a payment gateway to pay. So I do see, and this is just my personal point of view, that payment gateways that are popular in various countries have the potential to grow their own mini marketplace ecosystem of services. This is definitely something that I foresee will happen. It's already happening with WeChat in China. A lot of the e-commerce on WeChat seriously happens in dark social. It happens within chat groups. People buy stuff from each other peer-to-peer, but they pay using the WeChat, WePay. And we already noticed that there are opportunities to build more linkages to payment gateway to create bundled services. I just give you one example from Porsche China. 2-3 years ago, my agency and we proposed to Porsche China that they need a strong after-sales strategy to retain customers, promote repeat transactions. So what we did is we built off on WeChat and WePay a program which allows people who send their Porsche for repairs to actually also apply for a e-commerce package that's away from the car because they don't have their Porsche for the day. So it's like away from the car, fishing trip, away from the car, yoga. And it worked very well. And the Porsche China has used this program for 3 years already, and they're still using it today. So bundled services, yes, there's potential, there's growth, but it is still relatively new. But we'll see more of it in Asia.
Okay, so that's interesting that you say that it's probably going to come from the sort of the payment gateways rather than necessarily from a marketplace. I hadn't thought about it that way, but it's certainly, we have Grab in many countries in Southeast Asia, and they are really pushing hard and offering some good deals to get people to use their payment gateway, GrabPay, right? So this must be one of their reasons to try and get you addicted to their payment so that then they can start offering the bundled services rather than necessarily
Yeah.
coming from a marketplace.
Correct. Like, I love Uber Eats. A lot of my friends uses it across many countries. It's a nice service.
Okay, Ashish, how about India? Do you have any of these Prime bundled services yet, or do you have maybe something of your own there that we don't know about yet?
In India, it's a very nascent stage, and of course, Amazon Prime is actually getting more and more momentum because the sort of exclusive previews, the discounts it offers. Flipkart also started with something called Flipkart First, but till now it's more about better delivery times. So, and Paytm is also one of the big players who's trying to be a one-stop solution for all customer needs, be it travel, insurance, be it actually banking. So some sort of work is happening. But if you really have to talk about a success story, I think it's still some time.
Yeah. Okay. So one to keep an eye out. Certainly there's some of these providers are starting, as I say, with Live Up, starting to get their act together and come together. But I still personally, when I see, just recently been in the U.S., I see how prevalent Amazon Prime is and how people are dropping their Spotify's and their Apple Music and moving to Amazon simply because they get so much included with Prime already. That it's a really interesting dynamic going on with these bundled services. Okay, so our final trend for today is social commerce, maybe making a comeback. Now this is that the adoption of social media by brands for selling may have seen a dip in the past couple of years, but there are signs that social commerce is becoming more important. So first, a bit of background on this. Now, the term social commerce, and when you search it online, you'll see some links to things such as this. The buy button here. It really came into force when all of the major social media platforms, they allowed their brands to put buy now buttons on their promoted posts. Pinterest, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook all pretty much did the same thing that year in 2015. However, it didn't have the desired effect. According to data from Custora, a provider of customer analytics for the retail industry, the referral channel, which is the last touch a consumer had before they made a purchase, actually went down for social media between 2015, when the buy button appeared, to 2016. So instead of making these buy buttons, turning people into real social commerce buyers, they actually bought less from year to year. And also, we have to note that these numbers are very low. Sales directly from social media went from 2% to 1% that year. But, regardless, it's very small when you compare the last touch on search, email, and even affiliate websites there. Part of the reason for this problem is that there just wasn't a lot of consumer interest. Global Web Index, a survey company, found that very few people, when they asked them, were interested in the buy button on these social platforms, with fewer than 10% of Facebook users saying that they would ever use a buy button. Now, the end result of this was the pronouncement in 2016 and 2017 that the buy button on social media was useless, that they failed to catch on. And then we see there from Recode in early 2017 that Twitter went so far as to actually remove the feature. Social commerce seemed to be completely out of fashion. Yet, more recent data from Global Web Index shows that consumers are spending more time on social platforms. And that's probably not too surprising, but that they now are using them increasingly to find research products to buy. Social commerce, therefore, may not necessarily be about driving direct sales then, but rather it is an initial step towards a consumer purchase. So despite having low response from the buy now buttons, it seems that brands should really take another look at how they are merchandising their products on social platforms. And once again, we look to China for where this trend might be headed. In a PwC survey of consumers in 2017, we see that Chinese consumers, the circles there in red, are significantly ahead of their global counterparts in gray there for using social media as part of their shopping experience. Chinese consumers will discover products, read reviews, write reviews, and most importantly to brands, purchase products directly from social media channels, all in greater numbers than consumers do globally. Now, one reason for this, and this comes from the analysts by the Boston Consulting Group, is that consumers in China have a very different online customer journey from consumers in the West. As we can see from the touch points highlighted at the bottom of the customer journey, the Western one is in blue, the China one is mostly there in yellow. The West customer journey is very fragmented across many websites and marketplaces. A shopping trip for wedding goods online involves many touch points and many sites for Western consumers. And the social media is not yet well integrated with the sites which ultimately help with the sale. In China, on the other hand, and I do have to credit Kestrel here for bringing this slide to my attention, the Chinese customer journey is virtually a one-stop shop. On Taobao, as we see there in yellow, and that connects to many points of the customer journey, or almost all, consumers can get everything they need in one place. They can discover products through content. They can interact with a community about the products that they are interested in. They can chat directly with the merchants through the social channel. They can even see celebrity endorsements. And of course, they can make the final purchase all in one place. Now, while in most of Asia Pacific, this integrated journey is not yet possible, we are seeing signs that a similar interest in using social media for buying is starting to happen, starting to come up. PayPal recently surveyed Asian consumers and found, on the left there, that for some age groups, nearly 40% of consumers have actually bought goods through a social channel. And that throughout Asia, in the chart on the right, the potential for those who haven't to do so is quite high. Now, interestingly, we see there in China, which is the one in gray, so where social media has taken off, nearly every consumer said that they would buy via social media. But what's interesting about this is that for almost every market, more than 2 out of 3 consumers in Asia have an interest in using social media for buying goods. So while it's easy to look at the failure of the social media buy button and conclude that, social media is not that great a place to encourage direct sales, more recent data shows that social media platforms may still be an important part of the late stages of the buying process. So, Ashish, what are your thoughts on social commerce? Will brands ever be able to sell directly from social media in your market?
Let me talk about 3 trends which is pertaining to social commerce. The first point is, yes, people are consuming more and more digital media and social media per se. So if you see parameters like people using Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, everything is actually increasing. So from that perspective, customers are actually on those platforms. So does it make sense actually to sell on those platforms? The answer is yes. The second thing is, the second pointer still is, it's not contextual. From a perspective, I am actually on that media for something else. And that is what most of these platforms are actually facing. You are advertising there, but you really don't know that I need that or not. So from that perspective, I think, yes, customer is not looking for actually commerce on social platform. Okay. But still impulse buying is something which can happen. So when people are seeing fashionable products, low average ticket value sort of things, they're actually buying from there. So it makes a hell lot of sense actually to fashion brands, low ticket item values to be present there. But when we talk about more and more evolved categories, I think people will still actually search when they need rather than actually just available on a social platform and then they pick it and actually buy it. So So you have to, the third point is it's a very category specific thing. So I think for fashion and FMCG products, it is very, very relevant. But the more evolved categories will take, actually, we have to see the pattern before we really see that social commerce actually picks up.
Okay, so, for brands who are outside of this very visual, I don't know, either the fashion and maybe cosmetics or something like that, but, if they should focus first on search and then play a wait and see on social commerce in your market.
Definitely. I think
Okay.
That's the reason Facebook also.
Yep. Sorry, for Facebook, yeah?
I was telling that like Facebook also, the way they are actually approaching this entire ecosystem is now, is they want more and more social conversations rather than actually advertising-led advertising-led feeds. So I think social commerce, we have to see a few more years before it becomes like very, very relevant for each and every category and brands.
Gotcha. Okay, Kestrel, thank you for bringing this Chinese customer journey to our attention. I think it's fascinating. But are there any other sort of social buying trends in China that we should be aware of? Anything that's coming down the pipe? And also, please let us know if you see something in Southeast Asia as well.
Okay. Again, this is just my personal point of view. I would actually argue that social commerce has always been around in Asia. First example, Vietnam. I've worked in Vietnam for various retail brands for projects. And one thing I've noticed for the last 2 to 3 years, that the most powerful e-commerce platform in Vietnam is the Facebook group page, which has a member quota of 5,000. A lot of the online influencers in Vietnam, they actually introduce new brands and products to their Facebook group page. And that group page of 5,000 members, they really trust their taste when it comes to brands and products. So that's one example. 2, 3 years, 4, 5 years ago, when I was in Zeno, one of our key accounts was BlackBerry, and we actually allow people to make reservations if they are BlackBerry Facebook fan for the latest BlackBerry phones on Facebook page. It's just that the situation for social commerce is different from one country to another, especially in China. In China, the interesting thing to note is that Alibaba, Taobao, Baidu, which is the dominant search platform, they all have social content. They are also partly social platforms. Like Taobao has customer reviews, their forums. Baidu has its own Wikipedia clone and its own version of Yahoo Answers. So people like to start researching them. And partly because it's so easy to buy from a platform when the key research is there, hence there's more confusion. But the one thing that I know why social commerce is coming back is because it's becoming increasingly visual. The whole emphasis on Instagram and to a lesser extent Snapchat is how visual on Pinterest, on Fancy drives e-commerce. You see the product, you like it, it induces impulse behavior to just click on the buy button or take me to the product page. The same works in Asia as well. I do think that a lot of the content on e-commerce media and social media will be increasingly visual, if not in video format, and that should drive social commerce further. Yeah, that's it from me.
Okay. I think the point that I want to take out of there for our listeners is that, whereas, the analysis at the beginning there was about what the platforms are doing, so Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, creating buy buttons and emphasizing them and then dropping them may not be the best lead for you in a particular country. So instead of seeing what the major platforms are doing, have a look at what the behavior is in these various markets, and then try to decide whether or not social commerce is going to work for you depending on what people are actually doing, rather than necessarily what the platforms are providing. And you may find that in some countries, as you say, in Vietnam, social commerce may be incredibly popular, whereas in others it may not be popular at all. Good. Okay, I have time for a bit of Q&A here. I have a few minutes. And so I have one question here, and we'll start with you, Ashish, actually, on this one, and then ask Kestrel, because I'm sure you both have views on it. Okay, here's the question. We are a well-known brand on every marketplace. We are okay with the results, but we're getting no data from the marketplaces besides sales number. Will this ever change? So Ashish, what's your view? Like, what are marketplaces doing with brands? Are they going to provide them the data that they need to help them, or are they always just going to be at an arm's length?
I had multiple discussions with various marketplace players also, and what I found is it's just a matter of time because they want to increase sales. They have very little bit of knowledge about the product, how products are buying. Their brands have got ample knowledge. So like the way in case of physical retail also, like Procter & Gamble and Nestle, they are actually doing the category management for Walmart. The same way, e-commerce and online players also at one point of time will start sharing more and more data so that they can enhance the sale on their platform. I think this will definitely happen. Brands will get more and more data from online marketplace once there is a sort of trust built between both, because currently both are actually exploring each other in a manner.
Okay, so they should hold out, and eventually the marketplaces, because they want to make more sales, will be providing more and more data.
Yes.
Okay, Kestrel, what's your view? How is this panning out in China, which seems to be ahead of the trend?
Okay, I use Alibaba to do research to kick off any new client discussion about launching their brand or by e-commerce. I can find all the data that I need for the past 12 months on Alibaba's platform very easily, and I can do it in terms of product category, paid search category, demographics and sales behavior of the buyers for each product category. I can also drill down to product terms. So the data is there for if you are actually interested in the Taobao ecosystem. But however, it's only for Taobao. I don't get good data from JD.com. WeChat Analytics is not there yet. And the same can be said for other localized e-commerce players, marketplaces in Southeast Asia. They don't give good data at all. Alibaba does give very good data for the China market.
Okay.
So for brands who are really... Yeah, but for brands who wants to actually start in China, I advise that you have to start opening a basic store in Alibaba, because most people would search for the brand on Alibaba as the first touch point to understand the brand, and that's only for the China market. Okay. Yeah, that's it for me.
Good. Okay, good. So actually that segues into my next question, and Kestrel, maybe you can just go into this, is that I have somebody here who works for a B2B brand, and they resell electronics components, doesn't say from where, but let's just say, from that they're selling in Southeast Asia, and we have not looked into any marketplaces. Where should we start? What should a brand who's maybe new to this whole marketplace idea, and especially let's say a B2B brand, what should they do in order to get started? Where's the best place to start by selling in Asia?
Okay. Bearing in mind that Alibaba first became successful via B2B e-commerce rather than B2C or C2C in China, I have to say upfront that B2B e-commerce, business-to-business e-commerce, do have potential in Asia. But unfortunately, outside of China, I've not seen any platform that truly can do it. In fact, I would actually ask brands to explore, especially since they have a history of selling different products, services, parts, or equipment, to create their own mini exchange. Because I find that when there is no centralized platform, everyone would just create their own mini ecosystem. It's part of it's something that is part of the fragmented nature of Asia. So just now you asked me whether a brand should invest on .com website. The .com website can be an exchange where people can buy various models of the product and services, not just the latest one, but from 5 to 10 years back as well. For B2B
Okay,
brands.
so in some ways, that a B2B brand should look into at least having the .com presence and then trying to create some sort of mini exchange as well.
Yes.
Okay, Ashish, any view on this in India, how B2B e-commerce is working? Ashish? Oh, I think we've lost him. Okay. Oh, yes,
Hello?
sorry. B2B e-commerce, any views on how that works in India?
In India, Amazon.in has B2B capabilities also. So there are certain players, there are certain sellers who started selling to businesses also. And that business is pretty much doing well for those sellers. Added to that, there are a couple of other alternatives also, like India Mart is there. In my opinion, it's just a matter of time. It's a few years, this will also pick up. So I think, sure, if someone is looking for selling online, they should try for India Mart or Amazon.in in case of India.
Okay. Okay, great. And final question here is that this is definitely a trend that I didn't cover, but certainly interesting, is that somebody asks, what about omnichannel? What are the trends for consumer brands, specifically cosmetics and FMCGs? Kestro, what about omnichannel? I know it's something you know something about, definitely.
Okay. I've done quite a few studies recently for beauty, for luxury brands. Okay. I have to say upfront, omni-channel or new media or O2O, as in online to offline or offline to online, is very real because of two reasons. For e-commerce brands, platforms like Alibaba and Amazon to expand, they cannot just do e-commerce. They are reaching saturation point with what they have been doing. That's why they are buying up wholesalers like Whole Foods by Amazon in USA, as well as the Chinese grocery and departmental store chain by Alibaba, because they want to own the entire retail experience. So from the industry standpoint, that growth is an infrastructure play and it will only keep growing. Second thing, and this is quite important, the increasing difficulty in attracting footfall traffic. If you notice, shopping malls over China and Asia, they are cutting down on retail storefront, and they are actually introducing more F&B, food and beverage storefronts instead. Attracting traffic right now is the number one key challenge for malls all over the world, not just in Asia, but in USA as well. So changing the retail mix to F&B requires more O2O. The reason because you spend a lot of time in F&B outlets. They are your captive audience. While they are waiting for orders or deciding their orders, there's a lot of online commerce type of opportunities. And retail brands are quick to take note. Starbucks just launched the world's largest roastery in Shanghai. I've been there. All is augmented reality. It has a very interesting app experience that has augmented reality, much of which is provided by Alibaba. So what I want to say upfront is this. If you want to do O2O and you have a lot of retail storefront, talk to your main e-commerce partner, which can be the platform owners themselves, and see whether they can port some of their mobile or commerce type of media or technology into your storefront. They will go out of the way to do it for you because they need more case studies and more partners in this space to grow their retail share. Yeah, that's it from me.
Okay, so in this sense, O2O would be, the customer journey would be, they're at the mall, they're in the F&B outlets, they're researching a product, and they get to see something, they can have instant fulfillment because the store is in the mall. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. That's one.
Okay,
the other
good.
is that with closer online to offline integration, people who are researching brands and brands and products online have more reasons to visit the store as another touch point.
Okay. So it moves their foot traffic in there as well. Okay, great. And then finally, Ashish, how about India? Are you seeing people using, this omni-channel, this mobile to store for any industries, and FMCG, cosmetics, anything else?
Look, I think India is a big market, and the customers are actually approaching brands through multiple channels. So it makes sense to be present on all channels, because by good estimates also, in next 5 years, e-commerce will actually reach 20% for any brand. So 80% still is through stores, through dealers, through distributors. It makes sense for a brand to invest in all channels and make sure that there is a harmony between all channels, so that it's not a discounting which is only working in e-commerce versus stores. Couple of things they have to really think through, and pricing, promotion, inventory, technology piece, so that they can integrate everything. I think omni-channel is the way to go.
Okay. All right. That's all we have time for today. Again, if you have any other additional questions, please email us at apac@econsultancy.com, and we'll do our best to reply. But I'd like to just at this moment thank our co-host today, Ashish. Thank you for joining us and providing insights in India.
Thank you. Thanks.
And Kestrel, again, thank you for helping us with China and Southeast Asia. It's been very enlightening from both of you.
No worries. Thanks for the invitation.
Okay, great. Before everyone goes, we have a few things that we'd like to announce. As Econsultancy, we have the MBA in Marketing, which has the April 2018 intake from award-winning Professor Mark Ritson. Very entertaining and also a very knowledgeable fellow about the whole space of marketing. And you have a mini MBA done fully online, and there's an April 2018 intake. Highly recommend it. Have a look on the site and email us to find out more. We also have an online classroom available, and you can find out more about that, econsultancy.com, training online classroom. It has 12 modules with a quiz and a final exam, and you get a certificate of completion. Something new to point out is Econsultancy is now offering a professional certificate in digital marketing. This starts 21st of February 2018 in partnership with E2I. Those in Singapore can get a partial rebate, the 70% there, but we also provide special discount for Econsultancy's paid subscribers and NTUC members. So do have a look about the professional certificate. And again, email us for more information. Coming up, we have digital marketing courses, including our Fast Track Digital Marketing on the 31st of January, Proving Digital ROI in February, and we have Social Media Influence in Marketing in Malaysia, also in February, and then a couple more there in March. You can see the full list of our training courses at the links provided there. And do stay tuned for our upcoming events and webinars. We have a Digital Outlook 2018 on the 28th of January in Singapore, which is an actual event that you could go and see our live talks, including myself. You can register for the event at econsultancy.com/events, and it's available free for all client-side marketers. And then our next webinar will be on the 22nd of February. Will be email, trends, data, and best practices. So we'd like to thank everyone for attending today. Hopefully you found this interesting, and do get in touch with us and with any comments, feedback, or more questions, apac@econsultancy.com. And just note you will be directed to a short feedback survey after this, which will help us improve future webinars.